Hello friends, Lee here from TableTop Vase. Thanks for joining me. In this video, I thought we could hang out, have a fun sesh, and I can offer you a review of the new DynaVap B2. The new B2 is actually a pretty interesting little vaporizer, so I thought what I would do is just jump on and talk about this. I know there's a few people that this will be a really great match for, and coming in at what I would call an entry-level price point. It's under $60 for the kit, including the vaporizer and a torch. It's pretty hard to beat that when you're talking about, getting into dry herb vaping. And that's probably the number one person who I think this vaporizer is really good for. Number one is if you are new to vaping and you're coming from combusting and you're looking for a way to find the transition satisfying. I know a lot of people, if they don't pick up the right vaporizer when they're making the transition from combusting to vaping, what happens is you find that vaping maybe doesn't have that big experience that you're looking for, that you're used to from smoking, right? Smoking has a completely different experience from vaping, but this B2, it actually is a great way to kind of almost cross over. It really takes your vaping up. If you work with it a certain way, takes your vaping, not that far off of a smoking experience, making it a really easy transition. So I feel like this is a perfect fit for that person. And I also believe this is a perfect fit for anybody who is working with tolerance. So if you have a particular vaporizer, let's say you're on a ball vape all the time, or you've got, say you're, ripping your Mighty all the time and you're using one vape and that's kind of your move and you use the same sort of settings over and over, all of a sudden you start to develop some tolerance, right? You got to mix it up a bit. To get around tolerance, mixing it up a little bit with a different vaporizer, different techniques, things like that definitely does help. So for under $60 for a kit that gives you a vaporizer and a torch and can give you some really hard hitting rips, it's a great thing when it comes to tolerance to sort of break through and to give yourself something to keep vaping really fun and exciting too, right? If you're on one device all the time, mixing it up with something like this that there's more nuances to, if you heat toward the top of the cap, you get one experience. Toward the bottom, you get another experience, right? Like you learn these things after you play around with it a little bit. I'll do a quick demo, of course, before we're done. There's one other person that I think will absolutely love this device. If money is tight and you're looking to stretch absolutely everything out of your dry herb possible and you want to, get big effects on small amounts, this is a great option. The chamber for this is 0.075 of a gram. Okay, what does that mean? Think about this for a minute. What that means is you can take a single gram of weed and you can get 13 plus bowls from 1 gram of weed. Okay, you're certainly not going to go through 13 bowls in a sesh. I will absolutely guarantee that. Well, I won't guarantee it, but I think very few people would hit that many back to back. That's for sure. And if so, I think, you're in a category all your own. I don't even think I could do that. That's for sure. I think I would be on the floor. So especially if you have quality dry herb, right? So let's talk about what you get in the kit for under $60. You get this travel case, it's metal, right? It's not plastic or cardboard. And the two components, your lighter and your DynaVap, both fit in here. You have full instructions and a QR code to take you right to the website in case you need to find some information that you're not sure about because you're new to vaping. You get the torch lighter. This is a DynaVap branded torch lighter. It's a nice little torch, does exactly what you need it to do, and it has the CCD imprint right on the on the button, which I thought just was a nice little touch. And then there's 4 pieces that make up the B2. I'm just going to move these off to the side for a second. So what you have is you have your silicone stem. Then you have a condenser which goes inside the silicone stem. You just boom, and you just push it down until it's even. Like, this is how easy it is to do this. That's why I thought I would start with this apart so you guys could see how easy it is to work with this. Now, this is the tip itself. Okay, so this is a stainless steel tip. Okay, and that's where you put your 0.075 gram of dry herb in there before heating it. Okay, and then this just simply, if you look at the top, right, this is the tapered part is the bottom. This is the top. You just take this and literally just slide it right in. There's no O-rings, there's no nothing. Makes it so simple. And then this is just your cap that goes on the tip, and this is what you heat and it clicks. So then that just slides right on like that, so that creates your device. You have one little cutout right here on the stem, which when you're drawing on it, you can flutter your finger over that hole and it will either bring in fresh air or it will close down any fresh air coming in, thickening up the vapor. So you can play around with it a little bit and you'll find your sweet spot. If you find that the vapor is a little bit too warm, then allow a little bit more of the, fresh air to come in through that port on the side. Or if you're finding, you want to thicken it up, just close it right off with your finger while you're ripping on it and you'll get thicker vapor. So you can really get to, play around with these things in some very cool ways to do exactly, what kind of vaping you want to do with it. So let me just load this up and I'll show you exactly what happens here. For those of you that are new to DynaVap and thinking about coming over from combusting, I'll just show you very quickly up here on this cap. If you heat this top third, you'll get a very flavorful, thin, wispy style vaping experience. If you heat the very center, the middle of the cap here, with the torch, you're going to get a middle of the road experience. If you drop down into the bottom third of the cap and heat it, you're going to get more closer to a smoking style experience. And all you're going to do is just heat to the click. Okay, but since we're talking about, thicker vapor and things like that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load this up and I'm just going to heat it in that bottom third. And I'll show you exactly how easy this is to use it, kind of like smoking a joint to make the transition. Loading it is very simple. I just covered the port with my finger so there's no fresh air, and then I just draw through it with it in the dry herb. So I have some medium ground fresh dry herb here that and I just suck that in. That's I'm just having some Jack Herer today. It's a nice daytime strain. And then you just slip the cap on, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heat and rotate the device. And I'm going to heat that bottom third until it clicks. And then I'm going to draw on it and just enjoy the experience. You don't have to turn it fast, but you should keep it rotating so that you don't end up with any major hot spots. But it's really quite simple. The first heat up has to kind of heat soak everything. So it's going to take a little bit longer than subsequent heat ups. But I'm also heating it lower on the cap, which means it takes a slightly little bit longer time to click. And the idea with that is that will give me thicker vapor, which will mimic smoking more than if I heat it in the middle or at the top. Okay, so there's the click right there. We don't need to go past it at this point because I am heating it low. And you're already right into a nice vaping experience. So I'm going to take a couple of puffs like that. I'm going to use a magnet. This is called a Reload from Mad Heaters. It's designed to be used with DynaVap products, and it has a magnet on top. So I'm just placing the cap on the magnet just to let it pull some heat out so that it will reset the click, and we're already there and ready to go again. So we can go ahead and we can heat this again. Now doing this, and this is the great thing, when you're talking about 0.075 of a gram, we're going to get about 4 really nice draws off of this with some nice thick vapor. And then I'm going to show you what happens if you want to do some bong rips, if you're really into bong rips and that's part of your transition, or you're looking for the biggest, hardest hitting effects out of small amounts of dry herb. Running through a bong and overheating a little bit will take you right where you want to go. But you can see heating it down low on the cap really gets you into that smoke-like vapor. Feels very much like smoking a joint that has the most amazing flavor that you could imagine, because of course you can never get flavor like this when you're combusting. It just doesn't happen, right? We'll probably get one more good one. I'm heating it pretty low, so I'm getting some pretty thick vapor. And you have to remember 0.075 of a gram, right? That's very little dry herb. So if you get a few good rips off of it, You're doing nice. You're doing well, that's for sure. And you're going to feel that. I know by the time I'm done, I'm going to have this one and then we'll reload it and I'll run it through the bong. And by the time I'm done doing that, I'm going to be like crack-a-lacked and I'm not even going to have had 0.2 of a gram. If you have a relatively decent dry herb and you learn how to work with something like this, in my opinion, this is an investment pretty much every single person who smokes dry herb or vapes dry herb should make. $60 is such a small investment for what it can do for you. And it can just help you mix up your vaping game from other devices. And there's really nothing ever to go wrong with this. It can't really break, it's metal components. There's not even an O-ring to go bad. So, provided you don't destroy it yourself in some odd fashion, it'll last you a lifetime. You never run out of battery power or anything like that because it's fully analog, right? So there's just so much going on, I think, for something like this for the price tag that I'm like, how do you not end up with this in your collection just to mix it up and to have some fun and play around with, if nothing else at all, right? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to load it up again one more time. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heat this. I'm going to go for more of a one and done style. So I'm going to heat this pretty hot. And then I'm going to drop it in this Galaxy Black tabletop bong. And we're going to do kind of one big rip with this. And I'll show you how you can use this kind of like doing bong rips if you're converting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat right at the very, very bottom of the cap, okay? That's what I want to do, right at the very, very bottom. Just going to rotate it slow, and I'm just going to go ahead, heat this until it clicks. I'm going to go about 2 seconds past the click. I'm going to put it in the tabletop bong. I'm going to cover the air port completely, and then I'm just going to rip on it, and it's going to look very smoke-like without any combustion at all. And that's the beauty of this little vape. Look at how long it's taken to heat it, right? So this whole thing is really heat soaking for this big, big rip. There's the click. All right, let's get right in and enjoy this. I'm not going to give it too long sitting to cool down. The bottom of this tapers to a 10 millimeter joint for bong rips, which is really quite nice. Cheers. Oh boy. Yeah, you know what, I think I can get one more out of this. Everything's good and hot. I'm gonna move up the cap just a tiny bit, so I'm just in the bottom third. Bring this back to the click. I think I can get another big rip out of it. That was so smooth and flavorful. It didn't feel like I vaped it all out. You kind of get to know that stuff after you play around with these things for a while. You can just really tell a lot just simply by flavor and visual of the vapor too once you get used to it. Cheers. That wasn't far from cashed out. But even still. All right, my friends, DynaVap B2. Small investment. Lots of opportunities. All right. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this and got something out of it. Till next time, take care.